Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Trent Dressel. I am the tech sales instructor at Course Careers, and today we are speaking with Jeseth to highlight her story breaking into tech. Jeseth, can you talk about what you were doing before Course Careers and why you wanted to pivot to get into tech and sales?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so again, thank you for inviting me to be here and share my story and hopefully help some folks. Right before Course Careers, actually, while I was finding out about Course Careers, I was in the mortgage industry, had a brief stint as a loan officer.
Mm.
And honestly, before then, even I'd been interested in the technology space for the last few years, but wasn't really sure what role would be right for me. So I found out about Course Careers at the exact time that I was looking to make a change, pivoting out of mortgage, and it made absolute sense to me. It was a great way for me to leverage the sales experience that I had and create a new career path. I finished the course in just over a week. I was very ready. I
Wow.
finished it in just over a week and landed a role within a month of finishing the final exam because it was just like the timing was perfect and there was no reason for me to delay. So yeah, that's how I got into Course Careers and technology.
So you're saying within, let's say, 90 days or less from the time you discovered you wanted to get out of the loan business, which tough time to be in the loan business right now. You
Exactly.
discovered tech, and then you're like, okay, how do I get in there? And then you came across Course, and within 90 days, you ended up landing your job.
I'm going to say within 60 days.
Wow, that's incredible. What does it feel like having gone from being in this mortgage loan officer type deal to now what you're doing in tech sales? Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. So the most major difference, I would say, is the lifestyle. I was looking for a little bit more flexibility. So when you're in sales, generally speaking, there's a ton of flexibility. But I was going into the office at my last role, and it just wasn't working for me. So I was looking for a way to be a little bit more remote. We were coming out of the pandemic. I hadn't seen my family in a long time. I was looking for ways to travel and spend time with them, and this just made sense. I would say the difference between where I was and where I am is lifestyle, but also just mentorship and I would say culture, the work culture in the technology space, and working in sales outside of technology and then in technology are two very different things. There's a lot more mentorship, there's a lot more resources, there's a lot more help, there's a lot clearer pathway forward. And that just wasn't there in the experience that I had in the mortgage industry. So, very happy to be here.
How much did you know about tech sales before going through the course?
Not much at all. Very, very little. So when I found out about it, I'd seen a YouTube video. And then, of course, you know how the algorithm worked. It kept producing technology sales videos for me and just watched like day in the lives, just watched people telling their own story and did a little bit of research and thought that I said, I already have some of these skills. I've been looking to find a way to get into technology. This just seems like the perfect marriage of those two concepts. And I just went ahead and jumped in, but I didn't have a lot of knowledge.
After going through the course, how well prepared did you feel to succeed in your role?
I'm going to say overly prepared. I was way more prepared so I didn't have imposter syndrome, I would say, when I was applying for roles because I feel like I was well equipped. I knew the language, I knew what they were looking for, I knew the trajectory of the role. I knew exactly what I needed. I feel like I knew exactly what I needed to know to be successful in the interviews and also in the role itself.
How many companies did you end up having to apply to land your role?
I applied to fewer than 40. I got, after the course was finished, I kind of realized, I put two and two together and realized that what I was learning to become a business development rep was also exactly what I needed to learn to land my role. It was the exact same skills, it was the same process, same everything. So I got very clear, taking concepts from the book Spin Selling and just getting very, very clear on the type of role that I wanted to have, the type of company I wanted to work for,
Mm.
and a couple other benchmarks, and just went after that alone. So, all in all, I would say I applied to roughly like 35 ish or so companies.
And what was the most challenging part about navigating that process for you?
Which process specifically?
Finding companies to apply to and then eventually beginning the interview process.
Yeah, okay. So the most challenging part was, in fact, finding the companies, but I feel like I only used two resources. I used LinkedIn and I used Indeed. And I used LinkedIn for the first few roles. I applied to the fewest amount of roles on LinkedIn. And once I started to kind of get in the groove of the application process, and then I opened up. Someone suggested Indeed, and I looked at Indeed and realized that they had a lot more BDR roles at that time that just kind of fit the profile that I was looking for, and was able to find several companies. Once you get clear on what you're looking for, like everything else becomes clear, right? Like you can weed out what's not for you very easily, and at that point you're just looking for where are the placements of the jobs, like where are they gathered, so I can then go suss through and find which ones are for me.
How long have you been in the new role you're at today, and how have things been going, especially compared to what you're doing previously to how things are going now?
Yeah, I'm happy to say that things are going exactly how I thought they were going to go, which is fantastic. I've been in the role for a little bit over 5 months, so I'm nearing the 6 month mark. And I chose the company that I wanted to work for because there was no guesswork for me. I wanted to work smarter and not harder, which is actually one of their core values. So I connected with that immediately. And they there was nothing for me to figure out in terms of, oh, how do I do my job? What should I do now? Like, am I spending the best use of my time on this role as opposed, or this task as opposed to that task? So they were very, I'm very systems oriented. So if there's a
Hmm.
system and a clear way to do something that produces results, I just want to move with that flowing tide. So the company provided a really great, just pathway for me to succeed. So there's no guesswork in a way that there was a lot of guessing and figuring out and all of that in my last role. So I'm very happy to be here and be around people who are using that same just intended pathway, just what they created for the new BDRs to be successful, and seeing people that are successful with it, having the ability to reach out to them, reach out to people in my own network or in my own team, my management, other management. It's just a very collaborative company, and I'm really glad to be there.
What does a day in the life of a BDR look like?
The day in the life of a BDR looks really great. So I would say if the biggest thing in terms of being especially a remote BDR is time management, time
Hmm.
management, time management. If you're not good with time management, and of course there's a ramp period at every company, right? So for you to figure out what works best for you, incorporating the systems that are already in place, etc. And they really help you with that. My company actually gave me a calendar and said, follow this exact calendar for the first few months and then tweak it from there. See what works for you, see what doesn't work for you. So I would say time management is the biggest thing. So I wake up in the morning, do all the normal things. I have my morning routine. And because my job is so flexible, I have to give myself specific start time. So I start at 9 a.m. I do a little bit of admin. My territory, I live on the East Coast or lived on the East Coast. That's another story. But I am on the East Coast and my territory is in the West Coast. So when I start at 9 o'clock, it's 6 a.m. over there. So I'm doing admin. I'm kind of getting myself ready for the day. I'm doing custom emails, anything that doesn't require me getting on the phone that I can still use that productive time in the morning. So, and then I get an early call block in probably around 11, which is 8 a.m. On West Coast time, and do that call block for an hour. And then after that, any of the admin that relates to that call block. So if it's pulling someone out of sequence or getting new leads in, cleaning anything up, if I got in touch with someone and they asked for some information, getting that information to them. And then I have meetings with my team where we go through recordings of our calls and everybody shares. We use Gong, and really that's one of my favorite calls that we have during the week is really just kind of learning from your peers, learning what worked. So start with admin, then a call block, then more than likely meetings. Then I have an afternoon call block. And then after that, it's really flexible based on what I want to do and what I want to get done for the day. I might go listen to some other gong calls. I might, call it an early day. I've done all that I'm going to do that day, or just mentorship or reaching out to others to become even better at the role.
What other sales tools do you rely on to do your job?
So our tech stack includes outreach. We use Salesforce very heavily. We use Gong. We use Trello for some of the calls. What else do we use? And I'm not on my work computer, so trying to remember from memory. Of course, Outlook, Slack. We're on Slack all day long. And those are the primary ones. There are some other like extended apps that we use that work with Salesforce or Outreach to just kind of make the process smoother. But those are the main ones that we use.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned in the last 4 or 5 months, starting in this new role, this new industry, and really having to figure it out based on firsthand experience?
Biggest lesson is trust the process, right? So if you are going to be a successful BDR, you have a set of personality traits, right? You're competitive, you want to be the best at the role, and you can be impatient with yourself, or I can be impatient with myself. I'll speak for myself. At the very beginning, when you're still learning the company, you're learning the products, you're learning what even you do every day, and you just really want to produce. So that was the advice that I got from all of the management. We had an all BDR, an all company meeting in January, and I spoke to several directors and just folks that had been at the company for a long time, and everybody told me to just trust the process. It will all happen. There will be success. So trust the process, lean into any initial discomfort. Leaning into the discomfort that I had at the beginning was really helpful in reaching out to my management for help. What I've learned too, I spoke about the culture of technology companies and why I feel like they're better. The people teams, the HR teams are on the cutting edge of what works, and they hire people with specific soft skills for success in the company, right? So as it relates to my management, it allowed me to trust them. If I went in and said, hey, I'm having trouble with this, I'm having trouble with that, I was never shunned. I've never been shunned. It's really just a mentorship exchange, right? So trusting the process, leaning into the discomfort, and reaching out to management for help has been really beneficial for me. Those have been my biggest lessons in these last few months.
What advice would you have for someone that's looking to change their life in this career, in this tech industry, but maybe on the fence about beginning with CourseCareers or even getting started?
Yeah, so I'll say this about CourseCareers. Why CourseCareers benefited me, it was a really safe and inexpensive space to explore the role and see if it was right for me. So if you're on the fence, I would say go ahead and take the course. It's inexpensive enough for you to do so and explore. There's also a community of folks who are on the fence with you, and you can kind of exchange ideas. And in CourseCareers, we're able to interact with folks who have gone before us, who are successful. It's highly encouraged to network, so you can get your questions answered from people like me and Trent and other people who have gone through the course or connected with the course in any way and have landed their BDR roles. I will say a little piece of advice though. If you are not competitive, if you are not great at time management and don't want to be, if these are not things that you want to grow in, and you realize that, I would say that technology sales may not be right for you, but there are other great CourseCareers offerings that are available and are also going to be, I'm sure, added later. So I would say stick around, maybe take a few courses. They're not expensive. So it's a great way to just really explore if it's for you. If it is for you, jump in, do it quickly, get it over with, finish it, apply. There are roles for you at companies that want you to be there.
Well, the good news is for anybody that wants to jump in, we've linked the free tech sales intro course down below so that you can learn more about why you may or may not be a good fit for tech sales. I think it's important, to your point, to have that self-awareness of, well, if I'm not the best communicator, if I'm not that competitive, if I don't like some pressure, if I can't time manage, maybe it's not the right career for me, but perhaps there are some other relevant modern tech careers on Course Careers that could be suitable to you, IT, digital marketing. I know we have a lot of other great ones on the way. So this has been incredibly useful to me, and I'm sure everyone has enjoyed listening to your story, especially with 5 months of experience now and this rocket ship that's just going straight up. So thank you so much for being here today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Trent.